The increase in prices of essential commodities and inflation hikes have triggered dissenting reaction among Egyptian citizens thanks to the prevailing economic hardship. Business operators attributed the economic struggle to the depreciation of the local currency and the impact of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, despite the central bank's efforts to tame the rise in inflation, the situation remains hard for many families. Does the government forcefully intervene to mitigate the effects? Let's have more details of that in this report.
Ibrahim al-Shinnawi is shopping with his wife for their family of 5 children and is feeling the inflationary burden.
Everything is expensive. Food, electricity, gas, even our home rent. We used to buy a full breakfast for the 5 of us. Cheese, falafel, beans, tomato and bread for £50. Now 70 or 80 pounds are not enough.
The state-run statistics agency says prices of food and beverages jumped by over 23% year-on-year in August on the backdrop of the conflict in Ukraine.
The Egyptian pound weakened against the dollar, and since we are an important nation, then prices have increased accordingly. Secondly is the hike in oil prices. Since the onset of the war in Ukraine, prices have risen to reach $100 billion at one point, which pushes local prices up. Finally is the effect of international inflation, which has also impacted rates here.
The central bank has been trying to control inflation within the target 5 to 9%, but to no avail as rates have jumped to 15% and are still rising. The government had to intervene with a raft of social security programs that included more food subsidies and monthly payment schemes for the poor families, as well as raises in wages and pensions. Consumers are also cutting on expenditure habits.
The amount of food I used to buy before is more than now. Before we used to go out every week for picnics, the zoo and other outings. But now, nothing, because we can't afford it. The kids are not happy, but that's the reality.
Experts are calling on officials to take quick measures.
The government should have a bigger role on controlling inflation by increasing production rates, facilitating foreign investment and inflow of capital. As people, we must reduce expenditure and demand to keep prices down, while the central bank should continue to raise the interest rates.
Egyptians hope the government can put a brake on the mushrooming inflation before it spirals out of control, especially for the predominantly poor population.
And that report there is coming from the Egyptian capital, Cairo. But let's stay within the North African region and to the neighboring country, Tunisia, because following a long process of negotiation with the country's labor union, Tunisia's government has accepted the proposed pay increase for the public sector and civil service employers. Now, according to the officials, all public sector workers are expected to receive a 5% pay rise based on their category. Despite this positive development for the public and civil service employees, the government said it wasn't easy to make such a deal and amid striking economic challenges. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Tunisian Prime Minister Najla Bouden says her government had to make many concessions before accepting the deal with the labor union. Authorities were unable to find the financial resources to cover the salary hikes of more than 680,000 civil servants.
This agreement is the result of a long process of negotiations. It's signed amid many domestic, regional and global difficulties, including the repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic. This crisis was deepened by the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Despite this critical economic and financial situation, the government has endeavored to reach a deal on salary hikes.
Tunisia's powerful labor union UGTT has explained that the agreement on wage increases covers the years 2023, 2024 and 2025. It includes active workers as well as retirees and will take effect from next year.
The salary hikes will be implemented gradually and on different levels, which correspond to the rank and salary of civil servants. It was challenging to balance the cost of social demands so as to improve the purchasing power of workers and the state resources during this economic crisis.
Financial analysts estimate the annual cost of the salary hikes will be $188 million. It will raise Tunisia's public sector wage bill to around $6.9 billion per year.
This deal will improve the social climate for a short period, pave the way for the IMF deal, but also complicate Tunisia's financial situation. The average annual state budget is between $15.6 and $18.7 billion, while more than two-thirds of the budget is dedicated to salaries. This situation will only increase tax pressures and reduce the investment and development budget.
Tunisia is seeking $4 billion in IMF support. The Washington-based lender says the government needs to implement several economic reforms, including a public sector wage freeze. However, the International Monetary Fund also insists that any reform must involve the powerful labor union to guarantee social and political stability.
The labor union says the increase in wages is calculated according to the inflation rate, as well as the government's ability to provide the necessary funds. Economists believe that Tunisia's wage agreement raises the likelihood of an IMF deal.